Hey, so since my last devlog for my game Project TRS, I've been hard at work on new features, bug fixes, the next devlog, and I'm just kidding. I took a long break over the holiday to rest and recharge, and then over the course of a weekend, I made a completely different game. This game is called Roguelike Dungeon Tycoon. Premise is you've just started your new job of building random dungeons for adventurers to run through repeatedly. Why do they keep running through the dungeons? No one knows. Some say it's rewarding to repeat the same thing over and over because you learn or something. Either way, your job is to build dungeons with the tile cards and hope the hero can make their way through it. The game is definitely still in its really early stages, but it's playable and it's up on itch if you want to check it out. The link is in the description. Part of what I want to do with this project is kind of an experiment, but I'll talk about that later. First, I want to talk about the game in its current state. The main gameplay loop is that you pick one of the 3 hero classes to start, and then you're given a random dungeon grid. You then place your chamber tiles on the grid to build a complete dungeon. Once the dungeon is complete and you click start, the hero will automatically start running through the dungeon facing every challenge you put in their way. At the end, they're rewarded experience points based on each of their stats based on how many of the chambers of that type they completed. Speaking of chambers, there are currently only 3 kinds of chambers in the game. Chambers with nothing in them, chambers with a health potion in them, and chambers with challenges. The monster challenges have the hero fight with a monster. It's very basic turn-based combat, and the hero's fighting stat helps them here. The trap challenge is basically just a pass-fail. If the hero fails, they take damage. If they pass, they don't. The agility stat increases the odds of them not failing. Puzzle challenge is kind of like the trap challenge in that it's a pass-fail. However, if you fail, you have to re-attempt, and each attempt to solve the puzzle takes some time. The hero's wit stats increases the odds that they'll solve the puzzle each attempt. The hero has 2 vitals that need to be monitored, their health, which operates like health in every other game, and their hunger, which is really just a countdown timer for each floor of the dungeon. If either of those hits 0, it's game over. However, your hunger will reset when you make it all the way through a dungeon floor. The process for making this game actually went really smoothly. I had the idea for a while now. I actually came up with it when the theme for the 2023 GMTK Game Jam was Roles Reversed. But unfortunately at the time I didn't have the capacity to enter a game jam. I had the idea in the back burner and I've been considering taking a break from Project TRS to build this game since I figured the scope would be small and it wouldn't take me too long. But I had planned to do it after getting the Project TRS demo to a really solid place and after I had released a few more devlogs. However, when I got back from my holiday vacation, I just randomly started working on it on a Friday, and then I kept working on it all night, and then again on Saturday, and on Sunday I pushed it to itch and had some friends and family test it. I know it's like a classic game dev thing to switch to a new project every other week, but I just kind of had to roll with the inspiration. I definitely plan on going back to Project TRS soon, but I think this project's pretty cool and I kind of want to flesh it out a little bit more. First thing I did when I started the project was actually to clone a Godot template repo off of GitHub. I've never used a template like this for Godot before, but I wanted to give it a try, and I think this is part of the reason I was able to finish this project so fast. I'll leave a link in the description because this template is actually super awesome. I did have to update a few of the config files to version 4.2.1 of Godot to get the GitHub actions to work, but other than that, it works straight out of the box. After I got the template set up, I started working on the chamber placement. I had to make 2 separate components for this. The chamber cards, which the player would drag around, and then the dungeon grid, which is where the chambers and the hero would interact. I used a lot of the same patterns I learned while making my old cancelled game House in Hand to make the chamber cards. Basically, when a chamber card enters the dungeon grid area, it creates a helper chamber placer node as a child of the dungeon grid. The placer node handles snapping and will create the actual chamber when the mouse button is released. I probably could have handled all that logic in the chamber card itself, but I think it's simpler just to have a helper node. Once the chamber is placed in the dungeon grid, it has to connect to the other chambers. If you've ever heard of a linked list in programming, that's kind of how the chambers work. If you haven't, the long and short of it is that each chamber has a previous chamber variable and a next chamber variable. When the chamber is placed, it checks its surroundings to see if there are other chambers and then sets them as previous or next appropriately. That way, when the hero is running through the chambers, we can easily get access to the next chamber in the dungeon. After the chamber knows which chambers are previous and next, it will open the door to that chamber. This is really just as simple as turning on a sprite in the chamber node that looks like a door. I didn't do any fancy auto tile stuff. This system definitely still has little bugs and could probably be improved, but it works for now. Once the chambers could be placed, I had to make a hero to run through them. The hero node is really simple. All it does is keep track of the hero's health and hunger, tweens between the chambers, and plays animations when it needs to. The hero stats custom resource is where a lot of the actual logic is. The resource actually creates the hero node and passes it to the dungeon grid when it's needed. I did it this way so that it'd be easier to customize the hero node in the future. I used a lot of static variables in the hero stats, which are basically just variables that are the same across all instances of the class. These are variables like the hero class names, descriptions, sprites, etc. This way, instead of needing a global constant or something, I can just refer to hero.heroClassDescriptions to get whatever description I need. Finally, I built the challenges for the chambers. I created a base chamber challenge class that they all inherit from. This class just has two functions, start challenge and finish challenge. The dungeon grid will call start challenge when the hero is in the chamber, and then the dungeon grid will await the challenged finish signal from the chamber challenge. The chamber challenge is in charge of implementing its own functionality, so there's a lot of flexibility to what the challenges can be. It just has to emit the finish challenge signal at some point so the hero can move on to the next chamber. Those were all the core features, and after that I had to tie them together with the start menu and the end of dungeon floor menu. The template I mentioned earlier made this really easy on me. The start menu was already implemented when I downloaded the template, and because the template allows for passing parameters when you change scenes, building the dungeon floor end menu was as simple as creating a UI and then passing the cleared chamber types along as parameters. Then I just increased the experience points and the hero's stats resource accordingly. That was pretty much it for the first version of the game that I put on itch for my friends and family. They got back to me with some really helpful feedback, and since then, I've implemented a few more things. For example, I added health potions, since originally there was no way to regain health. I also changed the formulas for each of the challenges quite a bit in an attempt to balance the game. It definitely needs a lot of work, and that's where the experiment I mentioned earlier comes in. Balancing has been one of the biggest challenges in this game, and balancing takes a lot of playtesting. However, one of the things that's hard about playtesting is that it's hard to get really specific data out of playtesters. They can tell you about bugs or if the game was fun or not, but they probably can't tell you exactly how many seconds they played the game or how much health their character had at a very specific point during a fight. How I would solve this normally in my day job would be through analytics and logging software, and I recently found out about a company who made that exact thing in Godot. The company's called Quiver, and they do all sorts of Godot stuff from tutorials to game templates to analytics software, which is what I'm most interested in. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I just learned about this a while ago and I've been curious to try it out. Since I have auto deployments to itch in this project, I thought it would be cool to do regular deployments to itch, have people playtest the game, and then all the while have the analytics collecting random data about the game to see if it helps with the development process. I've never really applied this kind of DevOps methodology to game dev, and I'm curious to see how it goes, and of course to share it with y'all on YouTube so maybe you can implement something like this too. Currently, the itch version is collecting data. Don't worry, it's only data about the gameplay, nothing about you except for a random number that signifies your play session. My idea is that you can sign up to get notifications when a new build is up with the change logs, and I'll keep track of the data analytics. Then in a month or two, I'll make another video about what I've learned from the data. I genuinely don't even really know what to expect. It's possible that nobody plays the game and I'll just make a video about what a big dummy I am. Or I possibly won't even know what to do with the data. Who knows? That's why it's an experiment. There's more information on the itch page about what data I'm collecting and how to sign up for updates if you want to, but that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. See you next time.